If you have not read this book, read it. It is awesome. I'm only like part way through it, like literally just a little bit, and it has been so good at just if you're in AI and you're looking into how the brain works, read it. It's awesome. It just there's someone at the back here. It's like uh where is it? Um I can't find it. But basically, it just says, like, this book is great because everything I thought I knew about the brain. Here it is. How emotions are made did what all great books do. It took a subject I thought I understood and turned my understanding upside down. That is, like, wow. This is an awesome book. And this actually leads into my video now. The video I posted yesterday of long-term memory system implemented in my chatbot, and it was really janky. It's barely working at the moment, but I'm going to scrap it because it's working on this model of long-term memory, which is that we have thoughts and then they are stored in like a memory bank, and then we recall those thoughts and just retrieve them. And so basically our long-term memory is just a massive memory bank according to this model. This could work. And actually it might be more simple. The problem is over time, as more memories are being added, the list of memories just continues growing. Model number 2, which I think makes more sense and was confirmed by this book. And this is actually a model that I was thinking about before I read this book, but then once I read this book, it was like, oh yes, okay, this is the way that we're going. Basically, instead of having long-term memory as just a large storage compartment, long-term memory is just a bunch of models about how the world works. And so I call these schemes. They've been referred to as schemes before by other people. I forget exactly who. But basically, your experiences build up these schemes and models of how the world works. And when you recall something, you're basically just reconstructing a memory based on a bunch of like keywords and your models of how the world works. Or not keywords. For us, it's basically off our sensory data. So from our sensory data, we reconstruct a bunch of things that had similar sensory data, and we simulate further to try to guess what's going to happen next. In the case of GPT, it's going to have to be based on text. So it's probably going to be a bunch of keywords. And based on those keywords, it's going to access. Here's a quote from the book about simulations and our models. But basically, based on those keywords, it's then going to access its models of the world, which it will record over time through this encoding process, which I actually need to implement still. But okay, so all this to say, here's my new model of Muse, which is much more complicated and many more moving parts and not as understandable. So I'm going to put it here and I'll explain that later. But I think for the next week or for the next few days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new project, basically remove everything related to Muse and just go back down to a basic chatbot. And then I want to implement this scheme creation model of how the world works for long-term memory. And then I also want to try implementing this memory storage system. And then I'll be able to have just chatbots with long-term memory. And I will test them out one by one and see what the differences are and see how difficult each one of these is to implement. And so, yeah, that's my plan for the next few days, or next week, maybe even the next few weeks, because long-term memory is not easy to code. So it might take me a while. But yeah, for the next few weeks, I'm going to ignore Muse and focus on chatbots with long-term memory that can remember me and the conversations that we have over multiple context windows.